Yo, what's up, guys? We're back for another breakdown and predictions video, and this week we got a big one, man. We got UFC 321, the first undisputed heavyweight title fight that we've had in a while, and it's a great title fight, too. One of the best heavyweight title fights, skill for skill, in the history of the UFC. We got the strawweight title on the line in the co-main event, so a lot of good stuff going on this card, and definitely excited to break it down. I feel like there's some good spots to bet on. And there's definitely some places where you can make some money. So if you want access to my bets, I do have a couple bets up right now. You know where to go. It's going to be in the description, patreon.com/MMA Prediction Guru. And hit the like button, put a comment down below, share this video. Let's try to get as much interaction as possible. I would really appreciate that from you guys. Let's try to get 100 likes or as many likes as we can on this video. And then lastly, if you haven't seen it, I did go on the Beat the Line broadcast yesterday. We did a full card breakdown for UFC 321, so that was fun. Go check that out. Subscribe to their channel if you're not subscribed. Hit a like on that video and give it away. But the first fight of the night, we got Jacqueline Amorim. She's going to be taking on Mizuki Inoue. And Amorim, she's trying to win 5 fights in a row, where I think that's a quiet win streak for her because she hasn't really been fighting the greatest competition and making it look easy, but 5 wins is 5 wins. And the BJJ World Champion, she's gotten 3 submissions in a row. Her one other win was a ground and pound victory, so she's maintained her 100% finish rate through her 4 UFC victories. The one loss that she has had so far in the octagon came against Sam Hughes in her debut. But in this fight, she's getting a curveball. She's taking on a MMA veteran, making a comeback after over 2 years on the sidelines. And injuries have really hit Mizuki Inoue hard recently, and that's why she's been unable to fight. She left the sport on a win streak, and on a win, and she's 2-1 overall in the UFC. Even though she's 31, she's been fighting since she was 16 in 2010, and she hasn't just been fighting snowflakes either. She fought Beck Rawlings, Karolina Kowalkiewicz, Alexa Grasso, Virna Jandiroba, all before coming to the UFC. And then she's gotten a couple lower level wins, I guess you could say, in the UFC, where she beat Yanan Wu, she beat Hannah Goldie, and then her loss came against Amanda Lemos, who ended up becoming a UFC title challenger. But the UFC is doing Inoue no favors. They're throwing in there against someone who's active, that's been dominating. But Inoue has been grappling for a long time. She's been training with Kanako Murata, who's a good wrestler, and she has solid grappling training partners. So as long as she's been staying sharp, maybe she could surprise people here. But Mizuki on the feet, I think she should have a pretty major edge. She has a ton of experience striking, and she's probably been striking for years before Amorim even threw her first punch. But she's small for the weight, and she'll dart in, dart out. She has good feint. She could switch stance. She's good at kind of being all the way in, and then all the way out, trying to be evasive. But recently, she hasn't really believed in her stand-up, where she's had clear speed edges. She's been content to clinch. And in this fight, the game plan would be to stay away and not grapple. But I think Inoue is actually going to engage in the grappling, where she is very strong in the clinch. She has great technique there. She'll dig underhook. She has good head positioning. She'll create space with her frames for knees, elbows. And she is willing to kind of cage push, control you, make it a boring fight. But her wrestling offense and defense can be there as well. Like, she will take girls down against the fence occasionally, even though recently she hasn't been able to. But she is slick off bottom as well if you do take her down. If you go back, you watch her fight versus Virna Jandiroba, she was attacking Jandiroba a lot off her back. She was able to keep regarding and made it a tough fight. But she's not someone that really looks to get up, and she's not going to be able to likely sweep or submit Amorim off bottom. But I do think it's going to be probably pretty difficult for Amorim to just go out there and get an easy submission on someone with so much experience and kind of that Bushido spirit that Mizuki does have. And her last fight, it was a comeback after 3 years off, and she looked good. So that kind of gives you a little bit of less reasoning to be worried about the layoff, even though it still is an issue. And if Umar does get tired, pull guard on Mizuki, I do think Mizuki could be skilled enough to maybe hold her down and make her pay for that like Sam Hughes did. But I just don't know. I mean, Umar, good athlete, great jiu-jitsu. On the feet, she does a lot of lateral movement, straight punches, times the double legs. Very good, clean takedowns. Long arms, she'll connect very easily on the double leg, and she's explosive. And her grappling is really good. She has no problem pulling guard either, but seems like on her back she's not as good. She'll go body triangle. She'll try to use that to attack Kimuras or go for the legs, but you can hold her down and she'll get tired. She accepts bottom position as well. And you do have to be worried, though, because she will kind of cheat to submit you. Like, she grabbed the gloves of Sam Hughes. She was trying to kind of like pull her into the guard. And then she used the glove grab against Vanessa Demopoulos to actually get the armbar. So she's not against cheating to win, but Umar, she wants to be on top here. And if she can get on top, she's probably going to be able to stay on top. I don't know if she'll be able to submit like she has these other girls, but she'll probably easily be able to hold Mizuki down. I kind of think it's a dog or pass from a betting perspective because I do think Mizuki is the better striker, more experience, better cardio, more heart, probably the better wrestler. But with multiple knee surgeries, that comes with your takedown defense, your wrestling not being as good as it used to be, and you don't know exactly if Mizuki's still going to be able to move around like she used to either in the cage. And if she ends up on her back, we know she's going to accept position there. So I'm kind of liking the overs in this fight, or maybe a more via decision, in a way, money line. I think that all those are kind of viable because if Umar does kind of fade after the first, in a way, maybe could take over if she is in somewhat of decent condition, but it's hard to trust that she's going to come back looking very good. So therefore, I am going to say Umar via decision as a pure prediction for the first fight of the night. And next up on the docket, we got Azat Maksum and Mitch Raposo, and this is going to be in the flyweight division. I would say this is definitely a loser leaves town match because both these fighters are on 2-fight losing streaks, and at flyweight, losing 3 in a row is a big no-no. But Azat Maksum, the guy was 14-0 when he signed with the UFC, and just hasn't really been a good run for him. He had a controversial split decision win in his UFC debut against Tyson Nam that I think a lot of people feel like he lost. And he went into the fight versus Charles Johnson as a pretty significant favorite. He ended up losing. And then he was a major underdog against Tagir Ulanbekov and lost via decision again, but had a better performance in that one. And in this fight, he's taken a major step down. He's a big favorite again, so now the pressure is on his back. And he's taken on Mitch Raposo, who's 0-2 in the UFC as well. He's had close fights. Both of them were split decisions, but I actually thought he won his last one, and the Andre Lima fight was not really that close. It shouldn't have been a split, but he needs to finally let it go and bring his full skill set to the cage. If he doesn't win, his UFC career is over, so he has nothing to lose. He's an underdog, and he's going to Abu Dhabi. He's fighting I guess not one of their guys, but you know that they're probably going to be cheering for Maksum over the Americans. So I think that hopefully he could get out of his head and show his full skill set, but it's a really difficult matchup because Azat Maksum is a fun fighter to watch. On the feet, he's tall, long, lanky. Good job staying light on his feet, bouncing in and out. He throws nice jabs. He'll feint his way into the rear crosses, overhands. In this fight, it's not a super easy striking matchup for him because he likes to use the jab, and it is southpaw versus southpaw. He's also going to be fighting someone who's not going to want to engage with him. But I think sitting in the pocket and exchanging is what Maksum is the best at. He's fast. He's powerful. He'll take one and give one. He's very dangerous. He is a little bit reckless. He doesn't move his head, but his length, his speed normally make it where he's able to land first. And his last fight, he faced someone who was taller and longer than him. And that's why it was a really big war on the feet. I feel like he's not usually used to that. But now it's back to usual programming for Maksum. He's fighting someone where he's much taller than them in Mitropozo. And his takedown defense, there were some question marks about it in the past, but it looked unreal versus Umar. He looked super good with his technique, his balance. I don't see Maksum getting taken down by Mitropozo, and if he does, it'll just be like a quick surprise takedown where I think Maksum will be able to bounce back up to his feet. And Maksum can get takedowns himself. Like, he got that sick throw at the end of the fight versus Ulanbekov. And in the clinch, he's nasty, so you don't want to try to take him down in the clinch. So I think he's too dangerous for Mitch to come in with a wrestling game plan against him. But Mitch, he's a speedy southpaw. He's a boxer wrestler. And even for 125, he's kind of a small guy. But he's skilled, and he has good footwork. He tries to move around, use that upper body movement, shoot counters. He'll feint the level changes, come up with the punches. And in the UFC, he hasn't really been willing to take damage to give damage. When he gets rocked, it seems like he kind of just goes into a defensive shell and will just move around and accept defeats, kind of, you could say. But one thing Raposo has that Ulanbekov doesn't is he's a little bit more mobile. He's not a plotter, so he's going to make Maksum chase him, and maybe he could pull him into a big shot. I think that's really his only path, is kind of just catching Maksum and knocking him out, which I think is going to be way easier said than done. But ultimately, I do think Maksum is a pretty good parlay piece here. I feel like Raposo will maybe be able to make it semi-competitive, but he's not going to do enough to win. And if he does fight more aggressive and goes for it, I think Maksum will have the opportunity to potentially finish him. So he's drawing a bit dead here. So give me Azat via decision as my official prediction. And we got the main event in this next fight. I guess it's not the main event, but if someone can explain to me how this fight is not the main event, how Chris Barnett's not the champ right now and Hamdi's not fighting for the belt, put it down in the comments, man, because I don't get it. But amazing fight right here. Chris Barnett and Hamdi Abdul-Wahab. Chris Beast Boy Barnett, he hasn't fought in over a year. And his last fight, he came back too quick. He blew out his Achilles, which if you watch any pro sports, you know that's like a terrible injury, even for, like a pro basketball player or something. So it seemed like he had no movement, and he ended up kind of just crumbling, and Kennedy got an easy victory there. And even in his other loss, he had an injury as well in that one. In the win over Jake Collier, it seemed like he had like something going on with his face, even though he was able to turn it around and get a pretty sweet comeback in that fight. But, 39 years old. I mean, it doesn't seem like Chris Barnett keeps himself in the best shape, so injuries are really prone to happen, whether they're in the fight or he sustains them and then comes into the fight anyways. But that's why he's just an extremely difficult fighter to trust. But you can't totally discredit him because he's had over 30 pro fights. He's fought a ton of different styles. He's fought huge guys. He's fought smaller guys. And he's kind of seen everything. And then himself, he has a really crazy style. So it keeps him at least somewhat viable. That's why he has 2 wins in 5 UFC fights. But he's taking on a guy in Hamdi who only has 6 total fights, 4 wins. And he just had the complete opposite approach to getting into the UFC in comparison to Barnett. He was a high-level amateur wrestler, transitioned MMA, was having difficulty finding fights because people knew of his wrestling background and had to kind of fight bare knuckle fights in a weird route. But he got to the UFC at 3-0, and he definitely wasn't ready because he's looked horrible in the UFC. He had a steroid suspension where he got his one win overturned and then had to have like a 2-year layoff. But now he's back. He took the loss to Muhammad Usman his last fight, and I think, basically whoever loses this fight is going to be cut from the UFC. But Barnett has a chance because Hamdi's just not very evasive. He's going to be pressuring into Barnett. Barnett's going to try to land the overhands. He's going to be throwing the crazy kicks. And if he could survive, he might be able to catch Hamdi with something when both fighters are tired. I think if Barnett gets clipped earlier, put on his back, a first-round finish for Hamdi is definitely on the table. And Hamdi probably has good enough pressure, durability, and conditioning to get a finish in the second or third or even take a decision. I don't trust Hamdi at all as a big favorite here. You could tell my breakdown was very minimal, but chasing value with Chris Barnett, it's kind of ludicrous. But give me Hamdi by knockout. I think he can get on top, maybe take Barnett out of there, but I don't know, man. I got a feeling that Chris Barnett might be able to pull the upset here, but I'm going to roll with Hamdi. I think it's a total pass from a betting perspective. And, that's what I got for you on this one. And we got Jose Delgado. He's going to be taking on Nathaniel Wood. And high-level battle in this one in the 145-pound division. And I know Nathaniel Wood's nickname's a prospect, but in this fight, he's definitely the veteran. Nathaniel Wood, he's 5 years older than Delgado. He's 32 to Delgado's 27. He's been in the UFC since before Jose Delgado even had his first pro fight. He's 9-3, so he's had more UFC fights than Delgado has total fights and nearly as many wins. And currently, Wood is on a 2-fight winning streak. He's won 5 of his last 6, and he's looking really good. But his opponent, Jose Delgado, looks like he could be special. He's had 2 fights this year. Both of them have been first-round knockouts. And he had a sick knee KO last year on Contender Series. So the guy is dangerous, and he's fought good competition, but his most experienced opponent to date was Haider Amil, who's 11-0, and that fight lasted only 26 seconds. So Wood has more than double that experience and is the first true grizzled veteran that Jose Delgado will have faced in his career. A lot of people see Delgado as someone who's going to be a potential new breed title contender, though. So if he could put Nathaniel Wood away, those talks are only going to grow louder. And for Wood, this is the last fight on his contract. So it's not only a fight where he's defending his ranking, his name value, but man, the UFC's burying him on the prelims against a guy that looks like a killer that they definitely view as a potential future star for them. So they're trying to kind of push Nathaniel Wood out the door here. He needs to have a great performance, maybe finally get that elusive finish and get back in the good graces of the UFC, or see what happens. Maybe he won't even get back into the promotion here and they'll just part ways even if he does get the victory. But Delgado, if he gets this win, he's going to be jumping into, top 15 territory, and we'll see if he could start to, move his way into title contention sooner than later. But the guy looks like a savage. He throws sick combinations. He has some brutal knockout power. All his KOs in the UFC and Contender Series, all 3 have been things of beauty, especially his last finish of Haider Amil. And he's dynamic, he's dangerous, he's tall, he's rangy, and he doesn't have crazy long arms, but he's good at maximizing his reach, and he's able to land from far out. He's a master at range. He's very good at moving around the octagon, pulling fighters into check hooks. He'll chip away with kicks to all parts of the body. He'll throw small shots and then wait for his opportunities to explode in with switch stance combinations. He's good at attacking the body, going up to the head, and very flashy guy. He will mix up the levels as well. He'll throw long combinations, and definitely is someone that has a fun style to watch, and I think it'll be rewarded by the judges in terms of his activity, even if he might not be landing the cleanest and it's a close fight. I think they can maybe give it to him just off the oohs and ahs of the crowd and things like that. But I have seen Delgado drop before, and he can come in without moving his head, kind of be a little bit reckless sometimes. He recovers fast, so if you hurt him, you have to either jump on him and get him out of there, or know that he's probably going to come back and you're going to have to deal with him for the rest of the fight. But I think that Delgado can mix it up. He has good timing on his takedowns. He could blend in body locks. Ground and pound elbows are really good. He has a somewhat decent submission game. He'll attack chokes with his long arms. And his conditioning is really good as well. But the thing is, in this fight, he doesn't want to be in the pocket. I think that's the one place where he doesn't want to be, because Nathaniel Wood has really fast hands. He has nice counter hooks. He has good boxing on the inside, and I think that's where Delgado is a little vulnerable. So I think Delgado wants to be on the outside, exploding in. Ideally, try to knock out Nathaniel Wood early. The last time we saw Nathaniel Wood in here with like a taller guy was Andre Fili, and he got dropped and almost finished. So maybe Delgado could close the show on him. But I just think he needs to be all the way in or all the way out. Avoid being in the pocket. And for Nathaniel Wood, the guy's a beast. He is a plotter, but he equalizes that versus movers with his hard, constant leg kicks. He has good boxing. Good job keeping his head high, moving his head. Keeping his hands high, moving his head, using his jab, exploding in with big right hands. Good teeps to the body. He has a really nice crackback counter right hand. And he's going to want to walk down Delgado, close that space, force him to be in a boxing range, and put those counter right hands on him. We've seen Wood dropped, but we've also seen him drop guys. So he's kind of like a blood and guts type of warrior fighter. Last fight, he was sitting down really heavy punches, looking really skillful in exchanges. And he's a decent grappler, but at 145, we have seen him get taken down before. Ultimately, I think Delgado finds another knockout here. I think his movement, ability to land long strikes is going to give Wood issues. I think he could start down to the legs, to the body, and then come up to the head and find that knockout. So, for me, the prediction is going to be Delgado. I think he could win via first or second round KO. And another heavyweight fight with Walter Walker and Louis Sutherland in this next one. And both made it almost to fight night, their last fights, before the fight was pulled out from under them. So they had a training camp for other guys, but they ended up not fighting, and now it was salvaged by them getting able to compete here, because Walker, he was going to fight October 11th. Sutherland was going to fight September 27th. So they're getting in pretty quickly after they had their full training camps for those fights. Heavyweights, they don't have to worry about cutting weight, all that type of stuff. So it's not as big of a deal at the end of the day. But for Louis Sutherland, this is going to be his UFC debut. He's 10-3, and he has fought for PFL. He fought for Bellator. His last fight, he won a regional title belt. So it's a major opportunity for Sutherland, but he has fought on some big-time fight shows in the past. It's not going to be, like, super crazy to him. And he is facing someone that has a lot of momentum, though, right now. Walter Walker, he's arguably the heavyweight of the year for 2025. He has 2 fights, 2 heel hook wins. He had a heel hook win last August as well. So 3-fight heel hook streak, 3-1 so far in his 4 UFC fights. And if he can win this one, make it 4 wins in a row, he's very likely going to be facing some ranked competition his next time out. And you look at these guys, Walter Walker, huge guy, 6'6", explosive, athletic. His stand-up, not good really, though. He's slow, lumbering. If you pressure him, he will pull back and expose his chin. He will shell up too. But he does have good ability to take damage, and then you'll just find that takedown. I think fighters should attack the body and the legs of Walker more than his head, because he's waiting for you to overextend so he can get you down. And after his fight with Lucas Bresky that he lost, he came in about 20 pounds lighter for his subsequent fights, and seems like he's a bit more loose, mobile, standing. His last fight, he just blitzed forward and landed some straight punches, went and got the takedown. And fast level changes, he will throw a overhand or a punch, kind of blind you and then shoot under it. And he's able to close a ton of space with the shots. He can land takedowns even when he looks far out of range. And in his fight that he lost, he did get takedowns. He landed some ground and pound, but he didn't really do much. He got tired. He ended up losing the decision because Rebecki was able to stand up, get the better of the stand-up on the feet, and, get the victory there. But since then, Walker has just went in there and gotten these quick heel hooks. In his fight with Kenny Nzechukwu, he was in on the rear body lock, and he kind of dropped down into that 50-50 position and then hit the heel hook. And he's good at getting it from top half as well, but I have no idea, if he has other leg attacks or other submissions, but it seems like his jiu-jitsu is pretty good. For Louis Sutherland, though, on the feet, he should have the edge. He's not anything special there, but he'll throw some heavy leg kicks. He's patient. He's pretty quick. Good job going to the body. His hands, he keeps them low, but it's good because he's able to defend takedowns better. And in this fight, he's fighting someone who's super tall, but the thing is, even though Walker's tall, you'd think that it'd be hard for him to shoot like a double leg. It's not really that difficult for him, but it is going to be harder to get under a shorter guy like Sutherland. And Sutherland's striking style is pretty good for fighting Walker because he isn't going to overextend much. He's going to go leg kicks. He's going to throw fast hand combinations. I think he definitely has a shot to get the knockout here. And he's not a bad anti-grappler. He is a half-decent sprawl. I've seen him explode up. His fight with Slim Trabelski, he stopped the double legs. He got back to his feet multiple times. He did struggle to defend the single legs, but if Sutherland's able to sprawl hard on some takedowns, defend, get back to space, I think he has a chance here. He also, has a decent grappling gym that he trains at, and I've seen him attack leg locks, so I don't think he's going to be as big of a fish out of water on the mat potentially. And I think that Sutherland's live here. I think that he has a good chance to get a win. First round finish is very live if he can Walker going backwards. If he doesn't get submitted super quick like the other guys recently, extends the fight, he should have success too. He's super confident right now. I think his conditioning is better than Walker's. Walker could just lay on him or submit him early, but I'm going to go with Sutherland to pull this upset off and get the win here and announce himself as a player at heavyweight. And up next here we got Abdul-Kareem Al-Selwady making his comeback after over a year and a half on the shelf, and he's going to be taking on Mateusz Camilo, 24-year-old Novo União fighter. And both these guys, they're trying to get their first UFC wins. They're 0-1 so far in the promotion. Al-Selwady, his last fight was March of 2024, and he had 2 fights scheduled for February. Both of his opponents pulled out, and I don't know if after that Al-Selwady got injured or what, but he got put on the bench for a while, and now he's finally getting back out there. And Mateusz Camilo debuted in May for the UFC, fought Gabe Green, was kind of dominating, but then ended up getting submitted in round 2. And for Al-Selwady, he got knocked out in the 3rd round, so both guys are coming back after getting finished on top of losing. But Mateusz Camilo, big, strong kid with solid stand-up, good footwork. He'll skirt around the outside looking to counter. Good job going to work with leg kicks, so use the jab. If you're just plotting in a range against him or stand in front of him, he'll throw 1-1-2s. He'll go to the body. He's good at landing counters with single shots, like a big overhand, big straight, solid power. When he gets straight his punches up, he does have some knockout power, but by and large, he loops a lot of his shots, so guys could see him coming and absorb them. But his leg kicks, his body shots, just accumulation is how he could stop fighters over time. Good knees as well. And he tends to wrestle if you do make things dirty, though. If you can get inside, kind of make it an ugly fight, he will look to close the distance, shoot on you. Decent double leg, decent body locks. Aggressive on top. He'll attack with Kimuras. He likes to mount and go triangle armbar. And we saw him get a triangle armbar in a win in 2023. he locked it in against Gabe Green. It was pretty close, but he couldn't end up finishing Gabe Green. Gabe Green got out of it, took his back, submitted him, and it seems like that's where Canelo is at his worst right now. His takedown defense isn't bad, but if you can scramble to top position on him or get him on his back, he struggles in those positions. He's been submitted in all 3 of his losses. And in his fight with Gabe Green, Canelo kind of just quit in that one. He got tired after he went for that submission, and when he didn't get it, he kind of gave his back up. Gabe Green took his back and submitted him really quick after that. So his conditioning and grappling need to get better, but he looks like a solid prospect. And for Al-Selwady, short, compact guy, he got some takedowns versus Loic Radzhabov, but his wrestling and grappling hasn't really been what he's used to win his Contender Series fight or what he used in his UFC debut. He has good footwork, feints. He likes to move around, stance switch. When you get in a range, he'll shoot his right hands. He has okay power, but mostly he's just trying to score points. And he has the threat of the takedown too. So if fighters aren't willing to actually commit, close down the range, get in the pocket because they don't want to be taken down, Al-Selwady can get ahead, win the fight. Firepower-wise, he's at a big disadvantage here, and I expect him to be very uncomfortable, kind of just throw to get Canelo off of him on the feet. But if he can get a takedown, I think he could potentially change the fight. So the grappling edge for Al-Selwady is pretty significant. Good top control. Seems like he has decent wrestling, but he's a smaller fighter for the weight. I don't know if he's physical enough to wrestle Canelo to the mat, and if he does, Canelo could maybe get back up, but the thing is, if Canelo gets tired, we could maybe see him quit again. So I don't have a great read on this fight. On the feet, I favor Canelo. I think he can land leg kicks. I think he can get the jab going. I think he can hurt Al-Selwady and knock him out. And, on the feet, I think he should be able to control the center as well. So Al-Selwady's going to have to move backwards, and if he can't get the takedown, I think that Canelo's going to get the win. So I'll say Canelo's second round knockout. And this next fight, we got 2 guys that both need to rebound. They've lost their last fights, and they're really good fighters, but lightweight is a shark tank, and you don't want to start racking up a lot of losses. But Ludwig Klein, he had a nice win streak and was rewarded with that fight versus Mateusz Gamrot, but Gamrot was too much for him, just kind of blanketed Klein in typical gamer style. And for Mateusz Rebecki, he had a fight with Chris Duncan that was just a war in August and came up short on the decision, but he won another $50K. That was the second fight of the night in a row for Mateusz Rebecki, and he has to be feeling good in terms of how he performed, and he did take a lot of damage. He's turning around quickly here, but hopefully he does, show up and can fight to his optimal. But if Rebecki didn't go through hell in his last 2 fights, I think he'd be the clear side. We saw that Klein was nullified completely by the wrestling of Gamrot, and Rebecki might not be on the same level as Gamrot, but I think he should be able to pressure, mix it up, have success wrestling, use that to have success on the feet. Klein has a chance to land a head kick the way that Rebecki kind of dips and moves his head. Maybe he could snipe with straight shots, but I think he needs major moments in every round or a potential stoppage to win, because Rebecki is going to be on him like a dog on a bone. He's going to be trying to open up his big punches with the level change and vice versa, open up the takedowns with the big punches. And if he doesn't get caught or fatigue and stay at range after round 1, I think he should win via decision or even get a finish here. I do think he's coming back a little too quick after the Duncan fight, but honestly, I feel like Klein's overrated a little bit. He's feasted on lower level guys. Takedown defense got kind of re-exposed in his last fight. And on the feet, his knockouts, Shane Young, AJ Cunningham, they're both smaller guys for the weight that are not that durable. So I don't think it's that likely he's going to knock out Mateusz Rebecki here. And I think Rebecki can either get a late finish or win a decision, but my prediction is going to be Rebecki via decision. And this next fight, I'm going to need your guys' help on this one. So put in the comments who you think is going to win here, because I just don't have a great read on this fight at all. But Ikram Aliskerov and Jung Park, great fight. I mean, Ikram, he's been all violent since fighting under the UFC banner. He's had 5 fights, 4 in the UFC, 1 on Contender Series. All 5 have ended in the first rounds. And he can grapple, but he's been getting fights done with the stand-up lately. He's a plotter, but he has really nice, loose hands. He'll throw good jabs, lead hooks, 1-2s. He'll backfire to the fence, throw long combinations. He'll go to the body. And decent teeps. Good job exploding with multi-strike combinations. He'll end it with body kicks sometimes. When you get stationary against the fence, he will hurt you with combinations. Good uppercuts, good knees on top of the aforementioned weapons. And decent head movement, good distance control, but he holds his hands low. And if you can use side-to-side movement, pull him into a shot or hit him in an exchange, he has gotten rocked before. And he's gotten knocked out with uppercuts in both of his losses. But he has some major power himself. He does a good job picking his shots and getting guys out of there when he hurts them. And then he can hit double legs. He has good Kimuras, 4 Kimura finishes in his career. I think he would try to wrestle here if he's smart, because Park's been taken down a lot recently. But Aliskerov, I don't know if he trusts his wrestling to wrestle hard for 3 rounds. But he has to do something to stop the forward pressure of Park if he can't knock him out early. Because Jung Park, he's a pressure fighter, good boxing, nice jab. He'll throw good 1-2s, 1-1-2s, landing nice left hooks. He is going to have to survive the early going and just kind of try to keep the methodical pressure on, not open up too much, because he's a lot slower. I think he's going to get clipped early, but if he can stay on him, use his $2 stake self, constantly crash in the distance, make Ikram clinch, maybe give up a takedown or 2, but get back up and kind of dirty box and land short shots. Ikram, I don't know about his cardio, and I think he has a kind of a suspect chin. So I think that Park, if he can make it a dogfight where both fighters are tired, he can maybe get the upset. But I don't know if he's going to be able to win the clinch here, though. And he could give up takedowns by going with that game plan. So I do think it's a dog or pass, because Park's going to fight hard for you. And I think if he could survive and both fighters get tired, it's going to become a 50-50 type of fight. But skill-wise, Ikram has the edge. I think he can do damage on the feet, mix in takedowns and win. And I think he probably has to go the full distance to win here. He can't expect another first-round KO. If it comes, that's amazing. But as long as Ikram is ready for a hard fight, I think he can mix it up and win a decision here. But I see this fight being closer than the odds makers say. And closing out the prelims, we got an absolute banger here between Nasrat Haqparast and Quillan Salkilld. And Haqparast, this guy, man, I'm impressed with this guy. 10-4 in the UFC. He's 30 years old, and he's won 5 fights in a row. I think people kind of shit on this guy unnecessarily, because he got in the UFC at 23, 24 years old, and we've seen him kind of have to grow throughout his fight career, but now he's 30 years old. He's looking better than ever, and I think that people kind of hold on to his bad moments, and they don't let the guy evolve. But he's taken on another young up-and-comer here in Quillan Salkilld, who's 2-0 in the UFC. He's taking this fight on short notice, and big step up for him here. He's taking on a veteran on a roll, a guy that has as many wins in the UFC as Salkilld has fights total in his fight career. And it's a very, very interesting fight. He won his last fight. Haqparast is a major underdog. He fought another one of these young up-and-coming guys in Esteban Ribovics. So if he can get another upset here and beat another highly touted prospect, I think he's going to be undeniable in terms of getting a ranked opponent. And it wasn't originally going to be Salkilld that Nasrat was going to fight. He said that he had multiple other opponents that pulled out, and I don't know if they got announced. I'm not sure who he was going to fight. Maybe it was a bigger fight, maybe it wasn't, but he's been getting ready to fight on this day. He's accepted everyone they've given him, and Salkilld is coming in here, I believe, on a little bit shorter notice, but he's rattled off 9 wins in a row, Salkilld, since losing his pro debut. He became arguably the best lightweight in Australia, came over, got a win over Yong, who's now in the UFC, and then he got a KO over Andrew Jubilee, got a win over Janos Mush, so 2-0 in the UFC, and the UFC clearly likes him, as this is his 3rd consecutive time fighting on a pay-per-view card. Big step up for Salkilld, as he's going to be taking on a legit credentialed UFC fighter with a ton of experience and kind of going into enemy territory here, taking on a Muslim in Abu Dhabi. But Haqparast has more UFC fights than Salkilld has total fights, and all his opponents until now have not been very experienced. So this is the first time he's fighting someone with more than 10 fights, and it looks as if Salkild's ready to take this leap, but you don't know until you get in there with somebody. But Quillan, he's at his best when he could take top position. On the feet, he's tall, he's long, he'll throw a lot of kicks. Good job of lead leg round kicks to the body, good front kicks. He has a pretty good left hook, straight right. He'll throw body punches as well effectively. His hands are getting better. You could tell he's putting his combinations together. And he likes to be all the way in or all the way out, though. He doesn't really like to be in the pocket too much. And he uses length to beat you up from the outside, punches his way into the takedown. If you pressure him, he'll clinch you, put you on the fence. And pretty durable guy as well. But he did get hurt in his last fight in the 3rd round, and I've seen him rocked in the feet a few times. But he's also not the best with his defense, and I think that's the one area where he could improve on. But he's a strong guy. He could normally be pretty dominant in the wrestling department. He can get takedowns through the clinch or shooting. Usually he gets guys down against the cage, and he can be a little sloppy with his wrestling, but he's good at, even if he ends up in a bad position, keeping the scramble going, eventually getting to his spots. And he's good at getting in the back, and from there he can just work you over with short ground and pound, mat returns, wear you down, eventually finish you. And the way he blends his takedowns and stand-up is pretty solid. His last fight, he fought a guy who was able to pressure into him, be dangerous in the stand-up, have a good scramble ability. And Salkilld dominated the first 2 rounds. He got a lot of takedowns, but 3rd round, the gas tank was on E. He got rocked. He got sprawled out a few times. He couldn't get the takedown and kind of got beat up on the feet, but he survived and won that 29-28. So I think he may look to come in with different tactics versus Nasrat. He has to know that it's going to be not that easy to take down Nasrat, and he's going to have to probably use his kicks and believe in his striking, land some big punches to eventually get the takedown, suck Nasrat into that vortex and drown him. Nasrat, he was 13 for 13 on defending takedowns versus Jared Gordon. He hasn't been taken down since 2021. To be fair, he hasn't fought many wrestlers in general, and Dan Hooker, of all people, was the last fighter to take Nasrat down. Took him down 3 times, but having said that, I think Salkilld knows he can't just shoot a bunch of takedowns here and waste his energy. He has to believe in his stand-up, use that to set up his takedown, and show that he can, fight anywhere with the top guys in the world. But Nasrat Haqparast, he likely feels disrespected by this matchup. He's a fighter who's put the work in, had his setbacks. Now he's on a 5-fight winning streak. He just sent back a young up-and-coming prospect in his last fight, and now he's getting another one here. And I'm sure Nasrat feels if he's going to get a ranked opponent, then he can beat anyone across from him, and that's what he's thinking here. So he's going to defend that spot one more time and then hopefully get his pay dirt. But he's been training for this date for a while here. Like I said, he had multiple opponents, and I think he's going to be sharp. He's going to be ready to go. He's had Ayman Zahabi in the gym with him getting ready and some other pretty solid guys. That TriStar gym has some good motion right now from that UFC Canada card. So that I think he's going to have had a good training camp here. And obviously, accepting any opponent that they throw at him, he's locked in. He's ready to go. And he's a southpaw, really good pot shot ability, lateral footwork, pull fires into the clean left hands. He'll use his jab to close the distance for the left hand. He'll double, triple up on it. He attacks the head, the body. He'll throw nice uppercuts. His kicking game isn't as developed, but nice left teep to the body. And his hands are just really nice, crispy. He's a level above Salkilld in the boxing. And in this fight, he should have a lot cleaner stand-up. I feel like he's the better mover. I think that his boxing is much better. I wasn't blown away by Salkilld on the feet. He has to go kick heavy, I feel. Try to get Nasrat backing up hands high. Time to level change. But I don't think that it's going to be that easy to take Nasrat down. And he's coming in on not much notice. He got tired his last fight. So I think Nasrat's going to have to be more aggressive, close distance with his jabs, land, make Quillan kind of a little bit flustered by forcing him into some exchanges and then pulling him into power. And Quillan, I feel he has to be really looking to make it a brawl and then getting the takedowns. And Nasrat showed really good balance takedown defense versus Jared Gordon. Gordon had his leg way up in the air on a couple single legs, and Nasrat was able to balance, defend, keep it standing. And I think to take Nasrat down, you can't do it how Gordon was doing, which was shooting to drive Haqparast to the cage, work the takedown from there. Haqparast has great cage wrestling, so you have to time the takedown in the middle of the octagon or maybe take his back on the cage and just control him there and not just try to take him down on the legs. But if Nasrat does get taken down, I do think it could snowball and be bad for him. So he just has to be very, very cognizant that he cannot let himself go to his back here in this fight at any time. And, you could argue this might be a step down from Aspinall, but it's a guy that has a more well-rounded skill set. I think this is a fight where people will overvalue Salkilld, though. And if he could step up and win this, he could be a contender in short order. But Nasrat should win this fight. He's in the prime of his career. He's looking the best he's ever looked. Full camp. He's hungry to break through to that next level. He's only 30 years old. And I think it's most likely do or die for him here. Whereas Salkilld could maybe just be happy to be there. So Nasrat via decision is the pick. But I could even see him getting a knockout, man. And I'm going to go with Haqparast here to give this young kid, Quillan Salkilld, a vet lesson. And the first fight we got on this main card is another awesome fight, man, between Aleksandar Rakic and Azamat Murzakanov. And Rakic, this guy has to be commended here, man. Win, lose, or draw, he's not afraid to sign the dotted line against anyone. His last 3 fights have all been against former UFC champions. And instead of taking, I guess you could argue it's a step down in competition, but instead of taking a tune-up fight, he's accepted a fight with someone that's 15-0, 5-0 in the UFC. And Rakic at one point himself was 6-1. He was favored to 6-1 in the UFC. He was favored to beat the former UFC champion Jan Blachowicz, get himself a title shot, but an injury costed him that fight. Then he lost to Yuri Prochazka. He lost to Magomed Ankalaev his last 2. So it is a step down. He's not fighting a UFC champion anymore, but it's a must-win and a hard fight against Azamat Murzakanov, who's yet to find his equal. 15 men have tried to defeat Azamat Murzakanov. 15 men have failed. His level of competition has not been that impressive, but he's finished the large majority of the opponents he stepped in there with. He's shown levels. Every time he's been about to step up a competition and take on a higher-level fighter, though, the fight's been scrapped, so it's good that he's finally getting in, and we're going to see his level here, because he had fights with Volkan Oezdemir, Khalil Roundtree, Nikita Krylov, Johnny Walker, all get scheduled and then pulled. But, if these 2 guys get locked in the cage and Murzakanov is able to emerge the winner, then he will prove to be a true contender. And Rakic, one of the best athletes, fighters in the division, 6'4", long reach, great frame, one of the most well-conditioned guys. Style-wise, he's a decent striker. He has good footwork. He'll look to be evasive, throw heavy kicks, nice 1-2s, 1-1-2s, clean, sharp boxer. In the pocket, he'll stand his ground. He'll bang it out. He's smart. He knows when to exchange, when not to. He's good at landing in an exchange with his back near the fence, then angling off, retaking the center. So even when you back him up, he's still dangerous, and he's smart with his tactics. He also is good at when he's out of position, you'll land some weird combinations like jab to back fist to rear cross combination, and he'll throw like awkward kicks. His head movement is pretty good as well, and he can be hit, but you have to usually take damage to get to him, walk him down like a Yuri type striker, just be super proficient like a Magomed Ankalaev with length and ability, which, a lot of guys don't have that. But Rakic, he isn't someone with like elite power in his hands, so you could take one to give one on him. In this fight, I think head kicks are going to be there versus a potentially shorter fighter, so I could see that being a weapon that Rakic throws a lot. And Rakic also moves, and his cardio is really good, but it's hard to keep that movement for 3 rounds. I think that he needs to try to mix it up and put Murzakanov on the fence as well, because he can wrestle. He just doesn't usually show it. He has fights where he does have a lot of control time. He had a fight with Anthony Smith, for instance, but I think in this one, putting his body weight on Murzakanov in the clinch, holding him there, could open up with striking and, let him be a little bit faster with the movement and have Murzakanov kind of stuck in the mud as he kicks him at range. But if he gets on top of Murzakanov and can actually get a takedown, I think he could maybe do some good damage there, especially if Murzakanov is tired. But I don't think Rakic has anything to worry about here in terms of defensive wrestling. If Murzakanov starts wrestling Rakic, he's in trouble. And Rakic, he's only 33 years old, so he's still, in his prime. He can make a comeback, but this is a crossroads fight for him. And for Azamat Murzakanov, this guy's a monster. He's extremely dangerous. He's one of the best first-round fighters in the division. Fast, explosive, good job of planning for fighters. You have a few different attacks he uses to exploit tendencies. He could fight off the back foot or front foot. Sick jab. He's good at when he's fresh, being light on his feet, throwing the jab, getting fighters to return, and then pull countering with that slick left hand. Great job of doubling up strikes from the same side. He'll throw 2 straight lefts. He'll throw a left hand to a head kick, left head kick. He'll throw left hand, left uppercut. And when he gets fighters in the pocket, he'll unload with left hands, right hooks. Amazing power. In his fight with Dustin Jacoby, he knew Jacoby was good at countering with straight shots, so came with a lot of, or countering straight shots, so he came with a lot of looping attacks. He dropped Jacoby with a few hooks. In his fight with Alonzo Menifield's a guy who likes to use his shell guards, so you saw him throw uppercuts, knees, rip the body. So he's good at finding what works versus an opponent and then staying on that. And he isn't so deliberate and obvious, but if you show you're vulnerable to a certain strike, he's going to keep looking for it. And Murzakanov early on in fights is so fast. He's so good at sliding out of range, elite hand speed. But he does slow down pretty quickly, though. If you can get him to that 7-8 minute mark, that dynamic movement, the speed isn't as pronounced. You could start to land on him. He becomes more hittable. He shows bad body language. You can't sleep on him because he could still hurt you. Like, he looked tired versus Alonzo Menifield, but Menifield got overzealous and he got knocked out. He also gassed versus Dustin Jacoby and he dropped the 3rd round. If he didn't get a knockdown in the last seconds of the second, Murzakanov probably loses that decision to Jacoby. But even when Murzakanov gasses, he's shown he still has power. Like, even in the Tafon Chukwi fight, he was losing that fight. He found a late knockout. But Rakic isn't someone that's going to get tired, and he's going to be able to push the pace. So Murzakanov probably has to get this one done within the first couple rounds. And it's a great matchup. First test to see if Murzakanov is the real deal. His size is something people point to as a problem. Well, Rakic is huge for the weight. His cardio is an issue. Well, Rakic has amazing conditioning and a great chin. And he could also mix it up. He could try to clinch Murad Murzakanov. I think that the line, I was expecting Rakic to be a bigger underdog. He's been losing, but he's still young. He's been performing good in the losses versus top guys. It's a step up for Azamat. So I think that Rakic can use his length, leg kicks, angles, mix in clinches, extend the fight, win a decision here, maybe even get a late knockout. I was hoping that he was a bigger underdog, but the line's pretty much a pick 'em here. So we'll see what happens with that line, but I like Rakic here. This next fight, another really good fight, might be the next challenger for the person that wins the main event, but hard fight for me to predict, man. There's a couple fights on this fight card where I just don't have a strong read on it, so this is another one. This is another one where, I want to hear what you guys think in the comments. I see a lot of people that are leaning towards Aleksandar Volkov, and I totally get that. I mean, Almeida has a lot of experience now in the UFC as well, but the difference in level of competition overall for Volkov is pretty huge. He's fought everyone you could think of. He's been in there with all different styles, and he's slowly but surely, improved his whole skill set. He's gotten sharper with his stand-up. He's gotten a little more crafty where he's mixing in stance switches, being a little more evasive, not as plotty, and then his length and just reach and overall weapons on the feet, the ability that he can fight long with, just make him extremely difficult to deal with. He's walking you down with these long strikes. He's someone that it's hard to keep him off of you without being able to take him down or crack him with some heavy power. And then he's super durable as well. So it's just like the guy's a nightmare to deal with. But the thing that he struggled with is getting put on his back. And we saw even Ciryl Gane take him down multiple times. And it's hard to have trust that he's going to be able to stop takedowns. And he has gotten better at it. He's had fights where he's defended some takedowns, beaten some grapplers more recently. But we saw him get taken down, over 20 times versus Curtis Blades. He's had other fights where he's lost due to wrestling. And with Jailton Almeida, I feel like this guy's like, it's hard to get a read on him because I think he has so many holes, but he goes out there and he just makes it work. On the feet, he's athletic and smaller for heavyweights, so he is able to move around and be a difficult target to hit, be fast. And finally, in his last fight, we saw some offense on the feet that was actually menacing. He hurt his opponent, rocked him, but before that, we hadn't really seen any dangerous striking from Almeida, just kind of moving around to set up the takedown. So he's going to be looking to just land a jab, land a big punch, level change under it. And when he gets on top, he's been able to finish the majority of these guys pretty early. I mean, the Derrick Lewis fight, we saw him go all 5 rounds in a really boring fashion where he was scared to open up on the mat. He didn't want Derrick Lewis to stand back up and knock him out, but he did survive 5 rounds without getting his chin touched against a guy like Derrick Lewis. And you can't say the same about Aleksandar Volkov, but Almeida, I mean, his takedowns are so ugly. The way that he goes to his knees for the double leg, I just don't like it. I feel like maybe the elbows to the side of the head like Curtis Blade could materialize for Volkov. Or, maybe he could land something at range and just rock Almeida and get him out of there out of nowhere. But I don't trust Aleksandar Volkov's defensive wrestling, and I think if he gets put on his back against a man like Almeida, he's probably going to be held down. He has been submitted in the first round 3 times as well, including the loss to Aspinall. So if Almeida gets him down, is aggressive early, he has a chance to get that quick submission, and I think that if he plays it safe, he can just hold him down for 3 rounds, but that's a way more dangerous game plan because if he slows down just a little bit or he gets touched at all, I don't know about Almeida's durability. The Blades fight was a little suspect, so I want to go with Volkov, but I just don't trust him enough to stop the takedown, and I think Almeida can get this job done, whether it's a first-round submission or a decision. So I'm going to go with the new gen, and I'm going to go with Jailton Almeida. And in the feature bout on the card, we got Umar Nurmagomedov making his return after the first loss of his career when he fought Murzakanov for the UFC title, taking on Mario Bautista, who's 16-2 on a 9-fight UFC winning streak, or 8-fight UFC winning streak. But both these guys been incredibly impressive throughout their full careers. Obviously, you look between them, they only have 3 losses. And Umar, even though he lost to Murzakanov, a lot of people believe that he's the guy that could potentially be the one to finally defeat Murab. First fight was very close where Umar did clearly win the first 2 rounds, kind of tapered off after that, but you could argue that he won one of those last 3 rounds and could have gotten the title. Didn't go down that way. Now he is looking to beat Mario and put himself right back in that position, though, and show that, him and Rob are a level above everyone else in the division. But Mario Bautista is the dark horse. This guy has been left on the back burner, not really talked about in terms of the top guys in the weight division, but he's rattled off 8 wins in a row. His last fight, the UFC set up Patchy Mix against Mario, and they said, hey, man, you could beat Mario Bautista, a guy that the fans are down on right now after that bad performance versus Jose Aldo. Get yourself a title shot, but Mario Bautista had different plans. He finished the job and, took out Patchy Mix via decision, beat him pillar to post pretty easily. It was a great performance from him. Solidified himself as a true contender, and now he's flying to Abu Dhabi and taking on this Umar fight. So they're giving him the hardest route possible to a potential title shot, but if he could win this fight, make it his 9th win in a row, I could see him maybe having him have to fight Amen or something for an eliminator fight, but he's pretty undeniable at that point if he could beat Umar Nurmagomedov. I mean, beating Umar is a very, very, very difficult task. But looking at this fight, Mario, style-wise, has a really good style to beat wrestlers like when he beat Patchy Mix. But Umar, we know, is a lot more dynamic on the feet and not just a wrestler. Mario, he has good footwork, switches stances, nice boxing, crispy hands. He has decent kicks. He can wrestle as well. But I feel like he's pretty basic on the feet. He isn't the fastest guy. He's just very technically sharp. And if you aren't on his level, he could outstrike you. And then a lot of his wins in the UFC is he's utilized his wrestling. And he's pushed a high wrestling pace. He's broken guys and then finished them on the ground. With Umar, I think there's going to be a huge speed disadvantage for him on the feet. I think that Umar is going to be able to use that lead leg like a jab, land it early and often. He's going to be able to come up with knees, potentially land a big head kick or a knee on Mario Bautista. And I just think he's going to be a step ahead on the feet. I think he's going to be too fast, too sharp, too many weapons. And Mario is going to be a tough guy to take down, hold down, and out-wrestle. But I do think that he could potentially be taken down a few times. Umar could mix it up, use that to score points. And I just see him being a little bit too fast and too good for Mario Bautista. And I think that Mario Bautista's a high-level fighter, but I think that he's a step below Umar. On top of that, if this is a close fight, it's in Abu Dhabi, it's going to be hard to get the judges to be on your side here. And Umar, he's going to be hungry. I don't see him as the type of guy to lose 2 fights in a row. And I think he's going to get the victory here. Co-main event time, we got our first title fight on this card. It is going to be Virna Jandiroba. She's going to be taking on Mackenzie Dern. And this is a vacant title, so neither one of these ladies right now is the champion. But after they fight, we're going to have one person with the belt strapped around their waist. And jiu-jitsu is being represented in this one. Virna Jandiroba, Mackenzie Dern. You could argue they aren't just the 2 best grapplers at 115 pounds, but maybe the 2 best female MMA grapplers in the UFC. I know there's some other girls with high-level jiu-jitsu pedigrees, but I think Virna and Mackenzie Dern are 2 that have shown their jiu-jitsu ability and implemented it against really top-level fighters. But rematch from the first time these 2 fought in 2020. There were some grappling exchanges in the first fight, but what happens often when it's a grappler versus grappler, it was a lot of stand-up and striking on the feet. It was a really close fight. Round 1, Dern won clear. Round 2, Jandiroba won clear. Third was a bit of a toss-up round, but Dern hurt her a couple times, maybe differentiated herself, even though Jandiroba was a little higher volume. And then Jandiroba jumped for a flying armbar at the end of the third, and that maybe even could have costed her the fight, but the round was really close, and Dern ended up winning that decision, though. And Jandiroba ended up losing again in 2021 to Amanda Hebos, but since then, she's rattled off 5 wins in a row, and she's not just been winning, she's been absolutely dominating. She beat Angela Hill 30-27, Marina Rodriguez 30-27 on one scorecard. She beat Lupita Godinez 30-27 on a scorecard. She submitted Amanda Lemos. Her last fight, she 30-27 Yan Jiaonan. So, looking really good. And physically, since the first fight, she looks like a new woman. She's a lot leaner. She's lost some muscle mass. It makes her faster, a little bit less gassy. And this is a really difficult matchup for her. The first fight, she was hesitant to engage on the mat with Dern. She had a couple moments where she could have gotten on top, but decided to let Dern up. And in this fight, Virna has to be more willing to wade into the danger. If she's smart and has Dern stuffed up against the fence, I think she should be able to stuff the submission attacks, control on top. And we did see her get on top at the end of the second and defend some submissions, stay on top, but she was in some leg lock danger at the end of the round. She is the stronger fighter. I think she needs to try to put Dern on the fence, near in the clinch, later in the round if she can get the takedown with short time on the clock. Use that to maybe clearly win the round, but don't give Dern a lot of time to set up any submissions. And Mackenzie Dern, though, she has to be feeling very confident. The UFC clearly wants gold around her waist, and they're giving her the chance to take it by taking out someone that she's already beaten. And Dern, since the Jandiroba fight, has been a lot more up and down. She's 5-4, but she's on a 2-fight winning streak. She looked good versus Lupita Godinez, then won in a rematch that she lost previously to Amanda Hebos, submitted her. And that was Dern's first submission win since 2020. So with Zhang vacating, it was the perfect time to throw her in a title fight here. And schedule-wise, Dern normally fights twice a year, so even though she hasn't been super active, it's what she's used to. And in round one of the first fight, you saw the main difference between these two ladies was the speed. Dern was way faster. She was throwing multiple punches at a time, and she was really wild. She was missing. Now she's a little sharper. I think she could have an even more advantage early on the feet. Virna was kind of just moving a lot and trying to avoid the exchanges. But when Dern slowed down in the second and wasn't just winging countless punches, Virna showed she had the technique to compete. She was landing some hard punches off the back foot. And she ended up on top at the end of the round. She won that round. She, in my opinion, I think in this fight should throw more kicks. Body kicks, head kicks. Dern doesn't really have great defense for the kicks outside of just trying to catch them. And when she did catch Jandiroba's kicks, Jandiroba was able to stay standing, use the clinch to turn Dern and kind of get the better of it there, land nice knees. And Jandiroba needs to figure out how to make this a clinch fight or her be on top. And Dern has no issues being on bottom, so she could maybe even win the fight off her back with sweeps or a submission, but she could also run at a time too. I think that Jandiroba was worried a lot about the leg attacks from Dern the first fight. But for Dern, I'm trying to just strike in this one and force a bad takedown at Jandiroba, reverse get on top, or accept the takedown, use your guard to sweep or submit. She just needs to avoid being in the clinch. I think that's the major advantage for Virna. Virna has some nice knees in the clinch, and I think if she could put her there, she could wear on Dern. Everyone shits on Virna's cardio hard, but I think in this fight she has the ability to have the less taxing style. She does have to move a lot, but Dern's going to be the one being wild, chasing her down, throwing harder punches, looking for takedowns. So Virna, if she can just stay heavy and try to avoid the submission, that's how she could win, or just be in the clinch. But at first I was kind of leaning with Virna at the price, but after further introspection, just watching more, I think that Dern should take this. I thought her striking looked better versus Godinez, and I think she can use her stand-up to hurt Virna on a few occasions, probably win the majority of the exchanges. And Virna's going to have to trust her ground game more, be perfect on top for 5 rounds. And I just don't think it's that viable of a game plan, so I'm going to say Dern wins this one. I could see a finish, later rounds, or decision, but I'm going to go with Mackenzie Dern.
And finally, we got the main event. We got the heavyweight title on the line. All the Jon Jones talk is over. All the Ciryl Gane duck talk is over. They're finally going to get in the octagon. They're going to settle their business. we're going to see if Tom Aspinall is truly on a trajectory to be an all-time great, because if he can go out there, he can dispatch a Ciryl Gane the way he's been dispatching of his recent opponents. I think he's going to show that he might go on a long run here, because I don't think there's a lot of guys that are harder matchups for him in the division than Ciryl Gane. And Ciryl Gane, to me, is getting completely disrespected here. This guy has had a training camp pretty much all year getting ready to fight Tom Aspinall. Aspinall has been, in limbo, not knowing exactly who he's going to go against. I think Ciryl, regardless of whether it was Tom, whether it was Jon Jones, he knew that, he has to work on the defensive grappling, and then the striking, come up with a game plan and sharpen that up for either guy. So he's been in the dark, working on his wrestling, working on his defensive grappling, trying to improve that, and we're going to see if it's going to pay dividends for him on Saturday night. And Ciryl Gane is also a former UFC champion. He was an interim champion, though, so he's going to be looking to become the undisputed champion for the first time. And technically, Tom Aspinall, I guess, is undisputed champ, but he's never gone into a fight as the undisputed champion or fought for an undisputed UFC title. So this is the first undisputed title fight that Tom Aspinall is going to be a part of, even though he is the champion because Jon Jones retired. But you look at this fight, and I think that the line is way too wide. I get that Tom Aspinall has that aura right now. He's going out there, he's dusting everyone. Everyone is obsessed with how good he is, how dominant he's looking, and to be that big of a favorite against Ciryl Gane, though, one of the best heavyweights of all time, I think it's a little bit wild. I mean, Ciryl Gane, yeah, he went out there, he got submitted really quickly by Jon Jones, but outside of that, the only other guy to beat him is Francis Ngannou, and that was a fight that came down to the last minute. And so I think that Ciryl Gane, I mean, if the guy can extend the fight, he's going to have a huge chance to win, and on the feet, he should be very competitive and can compete with anyone in the world. So I think for Tom Aspinall to cover his price tag in this fight, he's going to have to get that first round takedown like Jon Jones did, get the submission, because if he can't do that, I don't think anyone could tell me exactly how Tom Aspinall is going to look after 7-8 minutes of a fight. I don't think it's a coincidence that he's had 2 fights that have went 8 minutes and he's lost both of them. And Ciryl Gane, the guy's not an idiot. He can move around on the outside. He is actually one of these heavyweights that's mobile and athletic. He's not going to be just a sitting target for Tom Aspinall to tee off on early with this big power. And Ciryl knows that Tom Aspinall gets the job done early in all his fights. I mean, move around. Don't engage with him early. Try to be smart. Don't have too many openings, and just when Tom Aspinall leaves his chin in the air, try to time a shot maybe, but don't sit in the pocket and exchange with him. Don't be silly. Don't give up any easy takedown opportunities by overextending. Get this fight into the second round, and then from there, see exactly how Tom Aspinall's feeling, and reassess the fight, because if Tom Aspinall starts slowing down, you could pick it up on him and really put it on him, then you could take over. And I don't think Ciryl Gane's the guy that's going to get tired. He looks in amazing shape. He's been 25 minutes, and he knows what he's going to be having to do on the feet to win this fight. Aspinall, the guy is really great striking, obviously, fast hands. He gets in the pocket. He could just bang it out really well. Great in and out with his distance, and his speed is just incredible, but he does float his chin in the air, and if someone is going to take advantage of it, it's going to be someone with a longer reach like Ciryl that can move, that can close the distance quickly, get reads, see what you're doing, and then take advantage of it. And I just think that if you're going to give me this price, man, I got to go with Ciryl Gane here. I think that he can go in here and get this upset. I think that if he can extend the fight, it's going to be very interesting. And if you're going to be picking Tom Aspinall here, you're going to have to be relying on an early knockout or early submission. And Ciryl Gane, I mean, the guy's only been finished in round 1 once in his career against arguably the best ever, and I think that he kind of froze up in that fight. I don't know if it was necessarily like that's the result, if it happened 10 times, that he's going to get submitted without any resistance. So Ciryl, he hasn't fought in a while. His last fight wasn't that impressive versus Volkov, but he got hurt in that fight. He broke his foot, so he couldn't move as much, and he was able to use the wrestling to win the fight, which, even though I thought he lost, the judges didn't, and it was somewhat impressive that he was able to adjust and get that victory. And some stuff that I'm just like a little bit thinking of. I mean, Aspinall's minus 400. He's never won a fight that's gone over 1.5 rounds, and the 1.5 rounds is minus 110. So, to me, that's telling you that the bookies think it's a good chance this fight's going to go longer. And if it goes longer, I don't see how you could justify Tom Aspinall at that price. So, Ciryl Gane for me is a solid underdog here. If he goes out there, gets submitted in the first rounds, hey man, it is what it is. Then we're going to know for sure. Ciryl, even with all this year-long grappling training camp, getting in the best shape possible, he's just not going to be able to grapple with the top guys. But I think he can, and I think he can extend this fight. I think he can start to exploit the sloppy tendencies from Aspinall on the feet as Aspinall gets a little slower and not as crazy dangerous on the feet. And he could take over the fight and get the win here, pull a big upset, and kind of remind everyone that he's one of the best of all time as well. So Ciryl Gane is going to be my pick in the main event. I think he's going to get this big upset, prove a lot of people wrong, and become the undisputed UFC heavyweight champion of the world. So big upset in the main event for me. I'm going to go with Ciryl Gane to get the job done there. So there you have it, guys. That's a full card breakdown and predictions video. Hopefully you liked it. Hopefully you enjoyed it. As far as the parlay of the week for this card, going to give you guys a parlay of of Azat Maksum, and then the Umar Nurmagomedov and Bautista fight to go over 2.5 rounds at minus 250. If you parlay that, you'll get a slight plus money parlay that I think will cast for you. And then I like some big underdogs on this card, obviously. I think Inoue has some value. I think Louis Sutherland has value. I think that Rebecki has value. I see Ciryl Gane having value. So I like those dogs. And then I kind of like Mackenzie Dern at the price. Even though if she gets like minus 170, though, I think it'll be a little bit blown out. But I think the Al-Selwady Camilo fight ending inside the distance is a good play. Kind of like Haqparast. And I like Delgado as well. I think he's going to get the knockout. So that's kind of what I'm thinking too, from more of a, if you want to put some money on things. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching. And be back soon breaking down another fight card. More than likely going to be doing a breakdown on Friday. So come check that out with the live stream. And yeah, hit the like button, comment down below, and appreciate you guys hanging around on the channel.